Welcome to Clinical Data Talks, a podcast brought to you by CRS-Cube. I'm your host, Sylvain Berthelot. Join me and industry experts as we discuss the latest trends impacting the world of clinical data. My guest today has spent many years challenging where we get eSource data from. He worked for AstraZeneca for many years, which is where he first implemented eSource to clinical trials. And he's now a driving force behind industry initiatives that aim to make us use eSource data more, especially through his role at the European Institute for Innovation through Health Data. I'm very pleased to welcome Mats Sundgren. Hi, Mats.
Hello, I'm fine, and thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. I have high expectations because I've seen you talk, and I know you're very passionate about this topic, and we are going to learn a lot. And I feel like you have a privileged position in our industry because you've had the opportunity to implement eSource in clinical trials. And you've now decided to focus on this challenge specifically. But before we go into you sharing your experience, could you explain to our audience what you mean by eSource data?
Certainly. eSource refers to the direct capture of clinical trial data from electronic health record systems into electronic data capture EDC system used in clinical research. So instead of manually re-entering data, eSource enables structured clinical data like lab results, diagnosis, medication, and vital signs to be securely and accurately transferred within the patient consent. So this actually eliminates duplicate entry, reduces transcription errors, and improves data quality. And importantly, eSource doesn't replace the role of the clinical research staff. It rather acts as a virtual research assistant that automates routine tasks and therefore frees up time for more critical work. So this process also aligns with GCP and regulatory expectation and has shown a major potential in streamlining trial workflows and reducing cost. And at its core, eSource is about harnessing data already collected in care and to make research much more efficient and scalable across institution.
That's interesting. So for you, eSource is the use of existing records for patients. Is that right?
It is, and eSource can be. So what I'm going to talk about today is the specific case of eSource, and that is EHR to EDC.
Mm-hmm.
We are seeing more additional aspect of eSource where perhaps we can do the same for ePro, electronic patient-reported outcomes, and so on. But it is at its core reduce double entry. Data is entered once is the absolutely most key principle.
Yeah, and I'm all for that. So you co-wrote a very interesting study in applied clinical trials last year. If I remember well, you co-authored that with the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. And I found what you presented in that study extremely interesting. Could you remind me what the conclusion was regarding the time a clinical research coordinator spends entering data?
Yes. The study we published with Memorial Sloan Kettering highlighted the substantial time burden that clinical research coordinators, CRCs, face during manual data entry in clinical trials. So through the structured interviews and analysis, we found that a CRC spend at least 3 to 5 minutes per data point. And that's quite a lot. A number that scales rapidly in oncology, where each patient may generate 10,000 data points or more, which translates into thousands of hours per site per study. The manual process is not only time-consuming, it's also prone to errors. So CRCs must search across fragmented and often unstructured EHRs and then re-enter data into the complex EDC system. Query resolution alone could consume up to 50% of CRC's time, especially when data is inconsistency arise. And the study showed that eSource technology automating the transfer of structured EHR data into EDC can cut entry time by 50% and reduce transcriptions errors and free CRCs to focus on more critical and patient-facing tasks. And equally for the sponsors, the benefits are absolutely clear. Fewer queries, reduced source data verification, which is a huge burden, and also accelerated study timelines, which ultimately could get medicines to patients much faster.
So that's interesting, actually. The reducing the data entry, you think, could have a positive impact on study timelines directly?
Yeah, if I may expand on that, because what we are facing now is that we have hybrid studies with eSource, and that means that some of the sites are using eSource, but the majority of other sites are not using it yet. That means it is like the chain is as strong as the weakest point of it, right? But imagine when we have an eSource enabled trial where all sites are using eSource, then we are talking about sort of cutting study timeline with at least 3 to 6 months. Wow. And that is amazing.
Yeah. You saw my reaction. So you mentioned that it reduces, obviously, the duplication of data entry because data is already there, so CRCs don't need to enter it again. But how easy or how hard is it to actually move data from EHR to an EDC system?
It depends, both technically and operationally. Transferring data from EHRs to EDC system, what we call eSource, is increasingly feasible thanks to interoperability standards like HL7 FHIR, which stands for Fast Healthcare Interoperability Resources. In simple terms, FHIR acts like a universal translator. It is an interoperability vehicle that sort of helps healthcare system to speak the same language so data can move securely and accurately between them. And between them here is the middle layer, which is the eSource. But challenges remain, of course. Around 50 to 70% of clinical data, clinical trial relevant EHR data, that is fairly easy to map, but the remaining 30 to 50% of unstructured data, often in text notes or PDF, requiring manual validation. So it's more things to do. But beyond the technical layer, institutions must align to IT infrastructure, privacy safeguards, and regulatory compliance. But eSource is nowadays sort of add on to all that kind of machinery. And the benefits are compelling. Hospitals like MSK and Mayo Clinic and Cambridge University Hospital have shown that with the right preparation and partnership, data transfer can be securely and compliant efficient. So ultimately, this is not just an IT upgrade. Essentially, it's a transformation how we do clinical trials.
Yeah, and it's interesting that sites are ready, because you've proven that with your studies and working with sites directly. But as you said earlier, not all sites currently use this process of using EHR data, so we don't necessarily see the full benefits. So if you think about a multi-centered, potentially multi-country study, how likely are we to be able to harmonize data across multiple EHR systems?
Harmonizing EHR data across countries is entirely possible, but it requires deliberate coordination. The core challenge lies probably in difference across hospitals in data models, terminologies, languages, and perhaps also documentation practice. For instance, one site may use ICD-10 codes, another may rely on free text notes. So without harmonization, this is variability limits consistent and high quality data analysis. That said, real progress is being made. Federated platforms now allow hospitals to share insights without moving raw data, and especially both privacy and governance requirements. So standards like HL7 FHIR support structured data exchange, and terminology mapping tools bridge gaps across systems. And we have seen this in practice through initiatives like EHR for CR and EHR to EDC in Europe, but also from vendors like Trinetics and Flatiron and Ignite Data, the latter enabling live automated EHR to EDC transfers at major sites. Many hospitals are already contributing harmonized query-ready data. So while cross-border harmonization is complex, with the right tools, standards, and partnership, this is not only feasible, it's already happening. And I could also add that this morning I was talking to the German network of university hospitals. 46 hospitals in Germany is moving towards this initiative as well. So it's exciting.
So I was under the impression that it was mostly compatible with the American or North American system of hospitals, because there are a lot of groups of hospitals that share similar systems. But in Europe, you see also progress in that direction?
I think it's we are going to face, and we're going to live with heterogeneity when it comes to different EHR systems. That's fine. But if we can work towards interoperability standards and structured data, all that can be overcome. So, for example, the German initiatives is working towards one federated repository that data can be accessed. So it's quite interesting compared to how it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
Yes, and I think you've alluded to the fact that you need harmonization, and it's not necessarily that you transfer data directly from an EHR to an EDC, but you need something in the middle to do this harmonization. Is that correct?
It is. I think that lies what could be, in a very broad term, called the mapping. The mapping engines of those middleware layers is to secure that data. And I used to say this both in my time in AstraZeneca, but also in conferences. I remember in AstraZeneca when I informed about the progress with the first eSource trial, and my colleagues at Data Science and Artificial Intelligence were excited because they said, now Mats, now we can begin to explore the data that resides in EHRs. And I said, sorry, it couldn't be more wrong. The data that is subject for eSource is data that is completely in synchronizing with the ECRF. No more, no less. It is only that data that is subject for the mapping and the transfer, and all the other data is impossible to access.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, based on what you've been doing for many years, looking into this topic and all the progress you're seeing in the industry, what do you think are the biggest challenges for the use of EHR data?
I think scaling up use of EHR data in clinical trials faces several interconnected challenges. First and foremost, it is the data interoperability that is the single most. And I think the tipping point we have seen for the last couple of years is what I've talked about, the FHIR interoperability vehicle, the ability of systems across different hospitals, regions, and vendors to communicate in a quick and a fast way and interpret data consistently. So while standards like HL7 FHIR help, many sites still operate on legacy systems with varied levels of maturity. So it is, and having said that United States is ahead of the game because the Obama administration in 2008 actually put FHIR that all hospitals in US should be FHIR ready. So that makes a big thing. Mm-hmm. Another, compared to Europe, but Europe is keeping up now, and another major hurdle is the quality and structure of the data. Much of what's captured in routine cares, especially physician notes or pathology reports, is unstructured. Extracting meaningful research-grade data from these sources requires very advanced tools like natural language processing, which is not widely deployed yet. And another thing with harnessing unstructured data is also the validation. So there's challenge there, but it is also light in the tunnel, I would say. Finally, it is a change management issue. Adopting eSource workflows means rethinking site processes. It also means rethinking the sponsors' processes. Retraining staff and realigning IT infrastructure is not just about plug and play solution. It's a transformation that requires time and investment and trust between sponsors and healthcare organization. But I think the fantastic view with eSource is it has such tremendous value proposition, both for sponsors and for sites, and ultimately for patients.
Yes, and you know, I'm always a bit frustrated with our industry, mainly because I want things to move faster, and I'm sure I share this frustration with many. But you've just made me realize that, especially for EHR to EDC, you're kind of moving a mountain, but you need to move that mountain a few rocks at a time in the right places. Do you agree with that?
Yes, indeed. I mean, I've been trying to push for this technology since 2010.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely right, and it is now sort of with the maturity of EHRs, with the understanding, and also the other thing of the fence is that clinical trials is becoming not cheaper. They're becoming more data rich, they're becoming more complex, and therefore they're becoming much more expensive.
Yeah.
This has reached, I think, an inflection point where sort of it's not sustainable. And this position eSource as something it's really important to drive for, even though it will take time and effort. When we set up our first pilot study in AstraZeneca back in 2022, just before I left AstraZeneca, it was I got the response from one of my major stakeholders and said that, Mats, if you could only transfer local lab, we will be so happy.
Yeah.
So this is also a very promising, it's incremental. So there is a very good trajectory forward for this.
Yes, and I think you just raised the right point here, that we shouldn't aim for everything to be done to start with. It can be an incremental process. So we have to talk about AI, because everyone talks about AI. No, more seriously, you mentioned that in some cases we may need natural language processing to analyze what's not necessarily structured data. Do you think AI can help in any other places with EHR2EDC?
Yes, I think, but I do have a conservative view. I'm trying to be feet on the ground, and the reason is I think absolutely AI is already beginning to play a role, and its impact will grow. And in the EHR2EDC workflow, one of the biggest bottlenecks is high volume and unstructured data that I said, and I think here artificial intelligence, especially natural language processing, can add real value by converting narrative text into structured research-ready data. But having said that, it's also a very important validation step. It's not just, it needs to be, how should I put it? The process of harnessing unstructured data to meaningful structured data needs to be correct. But the AI can also assist what I think is less problematic thing, and it can assist with data quality check. It can assist with pre-populating CRFs, flagging anomalies, and even predicting missing data points. This is much less problematic, I would say, because it is like an assisting steering in cars. It helps the driver, it helps the CRCs, all which reduce manual burden. But it's important to emphasize that AI doesn't replace researchers or site staff. It augments their work. And I think in this second aspect, I think AI is definitely something that is going to play a big role. However, my view is that for AI to be effective, the underlying data must be clean, structured, and interoperability. And as we often say, data first and AI later. Without high quality input data, even the best AI will struggle. So AI is a powerful enabler, but only once we build trust for the data foundations. So you see, my answer is mixed. I think the second part is already making difference because it's augment. It helps to find things. The first thing, this is harnessing unstructured data, is going to take a longer time, and it's more complicated than one might think.
Yes, yeah. But it's good to have a realistic view rather than thinking AI is going to change everything. It sounds like you have a much better understanding of the reach AI can have in this topic. And I like the fact that it could help not only, well, it could be an assistant rather than trying to use AI as something that replaces a full process.
Absolutely. I used to say like this, and I said it in my last year in AstraZeneca as well, because AI is, in clinical research, it is a kind of a virtual research assistant, but that assistant should always be sitting in the back seat of the car, and you should always be sitting in the front seat. That means that everything that comes from the back seat of the car, you need to understand in all cases whether it's right or wrong. If you can't decide that, you should leave it and never ever let the research assistant sitting in the front seat.
Yeah, I don't know if everyone agrees with that. I do. I think I'm sure there are people who see AI as being able to replace decision making in some respect, but I agree with you. It should be an assistant. Well, I've got one last question for you today, and I can't wait to hear your answer. What's the best piece of advice you've received that you consistently apply in your work?
And I've been thinking about this, and I've also been talking about it in conferences because it has it's something I really apply, and it is a very impactful principle I apply in my work, and it's inspired by Nash equilibrium of the John Nash, the Nobel laureate in economics, 1994. The idea that the best outcomes arise when every stakeholder acts in their own best interest while still contributing to the collective good. This is not just a theory of game economics. It's a powerful guide for collaboration in complex and multi-stakeholder environments like clinical research. So whether we are scaling eSource technology, aligning sponsors and hospitals, or introducing AI in real-world data, lasting progress only happens when parties seize clear value for themselves and recognize the benefits of shared success. And that is the balance I think I will always strive for. By upholding this principle demands actually effort, courage, and also endurance. It means creating trust, being transparent, and sometimes taking the harder path to ensure mutual benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, when done well, it unlocks sustainable collaboration, innovation, and learning. And I've seen this firsthand several times. Scaling technologies like eSource isn't just about efficiency gains. It opens up for new avenues. It's a partnership across pharma, hospitals, and academia and vendors. In that sense, Nash Insights has become a practical compass for how I approach systems level transformation in healthcare research.
Nice, very nice. And especially true, I would say, for what you're focusing on, because more and more we hear conflicts between various parties of clinical trials, like sites and CROs and sponsors don't necessarily all see the same benefits. So what you're saying essentially is that this approach needs to be beneficial for everyone, otherwise it's not going to last.
Exactly. And it works actually, and it's quite powerful. And as a matter of fact, it works almost universally, I think. Any kind of collaboration with different people and so on and so forth, trying in every sense, every step, establishing Nash equilibrium. If you do that, it will go well. Yeah. People will be happy. People will be motivated.
Yeah. That's a very sound piece of advice. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. I will definitely keep an eye on what you're doing because I see it as one of the futures of clinical trials, contributing to better outcome for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for watching us or listening to us today. You can find more clinical data talks on our website.